Hello, accounting superstars. This is Professor Don Bush from the Accounting Superstar channel. So glad you're here. I've been a professor for 30 years and a CPA for about that long. Got great ways to explain accounting. So here's the deal, folks, is that if you take all the costs incurred by a business, all the costs, everything, you can categorize them in two categories. That's it. Either one or the other, never both. Never, ever, ever both. It's either one or the other. And it's really simple. Here's how you do it. Is that over here on the left, I've got boats. These are boats in a factory that are being built. And you can see some workers in there. And they've got a lot of fiberglass, a lot of wood, a lot of keels and motors and whatever else. And so all the costs that occur in the factory are called product costs. Okay, it makes sense. You're building a product, it's a product cost. So here's what they are. Direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. Some people call it factory overhead. So either way, factory overhead, manufacturing overhead, same stuff. All right. So period costs. Now here's a guy working in an office. Looks like he's on a spreadsheet or maybe playing video games or something. And there's some co-workers over here. So period costs have to do with the administration, with the office. They're not actually building boats. What they do is important, or they wouldn't be there, but they don't actually build the boats. They're more of support people. So here is what we would consider period costs. And what I'll do is I'll split the screen so you can see the pictures, and that'll help remind you of what's going on here. So here we go. The first one. And these are just examples. This is not an entire list or whatever. Advertising expense. Well, advertising takes place here in the office. Sales commission. Salespeople are office people. Marketing expense. Office supplies expense. That word office kind of gives it away. Office computer depreciation. Office rent expense. Do you notice a pattern happening here? Administrative assistant expense. Well, the administrative assistants usually work in the office. CEO travel expense. CEO salary. You know, the CEO has his office or works in here, but it's not where they work. It's really what they do. I'm just saying office just to get the point across here. Office furniture lease expense. Accounting expense, attorney expense, see all kinds of things. Sales training expense, office property tax expense, vice president's salary expense, income tax expense, purchasing agent salary, office utilities. Okay, so here's Homer Simpson right here. There he is. So Homer Simpson is saying, do you see a pattern here? I hope you do. It's easy. Over here in the factory, product costs are all the costs that have to do with the factory. There we go. Product costs. These are people working in the factory, the materials used, the overhead that's happening in the factory. And period costs are everything that has to do with the administration, the office, accountants, attorneys, that kind of thing. Here's the question, folks. When do costs turn into an expense? All right, so we have all these costs. So let's take the factory here. It might surprise you a little bit. When do these costs turn into expenses? It's when the product is sold. So when these boats are finished and they're out the door and they're in the hands of some happy customer, well, that's when we claim all of these costs as an expense, when the product is sold. Later, we'll learn more about this. Period costs, when do they turn it into an expense? In the period incurred. So this guy's salary here, the guy looking at the computer, when does his salary turn into an expense? Well, if they pay him in February, then it's an expense in February. When is advertising an expense? Usually in the month incurred. So when is the CEO's travel, when does that become an expense, his travel? Well, when the travel occurs. So period costs, they turn into expenses in the period incurred. That's how it gets its name, period costs, period incurred. All right. Easy stuff. Even this guy right here on the right here, he's saying right on. He gets it. All right, so I'm going to give you a little test here. Let's see if you can do this. So let me unsplit. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Now you got a 50-50 chance of getting this right. These costs will either be a product cost or a period cost. Never, ever, ever, ever both. All right, don't ever put both. That's totally wrong. And I've got the little pictures up here to help you out. Like here's a picture of the factory, so all the factory costs, and here's a picture of the office, so all the office type of costs. All right, materials to build the sailboat. Well, that should be obvious. That happens in the factory. Staples, pencils, and other accounting office supplies, office type of things, administrative type of things. Printer paper for the corporate attorney. The corporate attorney, he is involved in the office. He doesn't build sailboats. The president does not build sailboats. President's secretary's salary. The president's secretary doesn't build a boat. Factory night shift supervisor. Now this is the supervisor that supervises all the people that work the night shift in the factory. And so that night shift supervisor is there in the factory, involved with the factory. So that's a product cost. Janitor that cleans the factory, product cost. Janitor that cleans the administrative offices, period. Cost for television and radio advertising. Well, where does that take place? Well, somebody in the office writes the script and they contact a marketing agency or an advertising agency, and there you go. Property tax for the factory. That has to do with the factory over here with the factory. Property tax for the administrative building. There we go. Salesperson commission expense. Well, salespeople, they usually work out of the office and they're not actually building boats, although salespeople are super important. Vice president travel expenses. Well, the vice president is not building boats. Vice president entertainment expenses. Maybe the vice president is entertaining a new vendor or possibly some new customers. Pizza for the night shift factory workers. The night shift factory workers are doing a great job and they decided to buy pizza. Well, that's about the factory workers, so it's in the factory product cost. Factory machine repairs, factory machine product cost. Administrative internet expenses, well, that has to do with the administration. It doesn't have to do with the factory directly. Labor to install sailboat electronics. There you go, in the factory. Insurance cost for the factory building. That would be a product cost. Glue, fiberglass, and paint for the sailboats. That is happening all in the factory. Christmas party for the administrative workers. Well, that's a period cost because it's the administration. I hope they have a Christmas party for the factory workers too, but I didn't write it down because I think by now you're getting the idea. So in a nutshell, everything that happens inside the factory is considered a product cost. Outside the factory is a period cost, but it's not so much the physical location. It's really more of a concept of what's going on. Product cost more specifically is the people building boats, okay? What it takes to actually build a boat. And the period costs, those are more like support people or do auxiliary activities. So there you go, folks. Hope this lesson helped you out. If it did, let me know. Hit that subscribe button, like button. That way I'll know you like these videos. Also, see my webpage, accountingsuperstars.com. You can find all my videos listed by topic. Easier to find them. So until next time, over and out.